When working on Flow, we knew that we would have to rely a lot on the visual storytelling because there is no dialogue. We look at things like color in terms of storytelling, and I think these aspects, which are fundamental to the visual storytelling of the film, really shine on the Onyx screen because it captures them so precisely and as the filmmakers intended. Flow is an independent Latvian animated film. It tells the story of this solitary individualist cat who likes to kind of be by himself and not interact a lot with other animals, but suddenly there comes this huge flood which destroys the cat's home. It's forced upon a boat together with some other animals, and upon this boat the cat learns to collaborate and to become friends with other animals because they all need to work together in order to survive in this new, beautiful, humanless world. What we did is we actually studied the movements of these real animals. Our approach to the movements of the animals, so we wanted to make them feel like they're the actual creatures. So we studied the most meticulous details. Like, for example, when something attracts a cat's attention, rather than twisting its head to look at that, it would just twist the ear a little bit. Different animals move in different ways too. They have different silhouette, they have different weight, they have different verticality. So that was what was really important for us to nail in the process. I would have to say that flow on the Onyx screen really flows. The movements are clear. You can see how all the different characters have their own particularities to the most meticulous details and to the most subtle interactions. There are many scenes in the film actually which have foreground and background interaction. And the Onyx, with its level of detail, really lets us see both of these and lets us pay attention to the smallest details in the animal interactions. And just the smallest twitching of the ear and the smallest kind of gaze of the eye or any kind of little interaction is perfectly visible and can be enjoyed by the viewer in full and basically how we wanted it to look. There is this scene at the beginning of Flow where the cat is still in its home, which is this lovely sculpture garden. And just how vivid the color was in that scene, it gives this emotion of calmness, of being in a friendly environment. And I noticed the little butterflies and critters flying all around that might not be noticeable on other screens, but on the Onyx, these little details, which give actually a lot to the atmosphere, to the peaceful tone of the scene, were perfectly visible. On the Onyx, and there's no discussion as to whether the cat is black or dark gray. If you watch it on the Onyx, you're going to know that the cat is dark gray. So I think watching Flow on an LED screen really enhances the storytelling. First of all, Flow is built around this kind of contrast between the main protagonist and the world around it. The world of Flow is vividly colorful with the yellows and the greens and the blues, and so there's this huge contrast between the protagonist and the world around it. One of the goals of Flow is to essentially have the audience member come as close to the experience of the cat as possible. And it always comes through detail. So cinema is all about detailing in the storytelling. And I think that comes through on the Onyx screen very well. When it comes to the most difficult part of making this movie, I would have to say that technically it was the water effect. I think that the dynamics of the water in the storytelling is really important because water is one of the central metaphors in the film. And it was really important for us to have the water effects work as they can in every scene. On Onyx screen, you can really see the difference between just the little waves in the puddle at the beginning of the film and at the end. And those little details are very important to the storytelling. The artists and visual effects supervisors who worked on this, it really took a long time for them to create the specificity of the water in every scene. And that really comes clear here. When working on flow, we knew that we would have to rely a lot on the visual storytelling because there is no dialogue. We look at things like color in terms of storytelling. For example, one thing that you can do, setting the right levels of contrast and setting the right color palette for the scene, creating the mood and the atmosphere. And I think these aspects, which are fundamental to the visual storytelling of the film, really shine on the Onyx screen because it captures them so precisely and as the filmmakers intended. I'm a very hands-on director and producer. I think that the level of detail that the Onyx screens offer and just the crispness of the colors, the range of colors offered, it really brings us back to why we love seeing motion pictures on the big screen. It's because it's super immersive and it has a level of detailing that is just incredible. So there's a lot of interesting storytelling that filmmakers can do just using the environments and using visuals and using powerful storytelling, which doesn't spoon feed you, but rather puts you as the audience member in an interactive and active relationship with the film that you're watching. And that's something that I love. When the theatrical experience puts me as the audience member in the middle of this experience and has me participate in a way by trying to decode what's going on. And I think that something like the Onyx really makes this possible just because of the level of detailing and the clarity that the experience gives us. In the end, as a filmmaker, I do it for the theatrical experience. I do it for the cinema-going experience because that is where the film really shines. That is where you hear the sound as it's supposed to sound. That is where you hear, where you see the image as you're supposed to see it. Now, I have to be honest that this is something that every cinematographer, I think, and every director has had to come to terms with, is that in traditional projection, different cinemas will show you different images, basically. I think with this kind of uniform approach that the Onyx has, that problem might be eliminated. And that's so important for the artists, that all over the world, people will be able to watch the movie like they intended.